Welcome, bienvenue, la radio du festival Bildrausch.
Bienvenue à Bildrausch, bienvenue sur Film Explorer pour ce podcast consacré au Festival de cinéma de Bâle. Je suis Nicolas Bézard et dans ce beau studio radio installé en terrasse du Stadtkino, j'ai le plaisir d'être accompagné par mes camarades auteurs Giuseppe di Salvatore et Emilien Gour. À la technique, notre metteur en son Olivier Legras. Bonjour Nelson Carlo de los Santos Arias.
Bonjour.
Vous êtes né à Saint-Domingue en République dominicaine. Vous avez étudié le cinéma à Buenos Aires, en Argentine, avant de vous tourner vers le cinéma expérimental, dont vous avez parfait vos connaissances en Europe. Vous êtes ensuite revenu sur le continent américain pour suivre un cursus plus spécifiquement artistique à Los Angeles. Vos films qui interrogent la frontière entre fiction, songe et réalité s'intéressent à la construction de l'histoire de l'Amérique du Sud et à la composition de multiples strates ethniques des identités latino-américaines. Vous présentez à Bildrausch votre dernier long métrage, Pepe, récompensé il y a quelques mois par l'Ours d'argent de la mise en scène à la Berlinale. Un film foisonnant, surprenant, d'une grande hétérogénéité plastique et narrative. Pepe, le personnage qui donne donc son titre au film, c'est un animal, un hippopotame, qui a réellement existé, le premier et le dernier de son espèce à avoir été tué sur le continent sud-américain. Votre film, qui est donc aussi une tragédie, donne la parole à cet animal et raconte de son point de vue, à l'aide d'un récit non didactique, une narration libre et totalement imprévisible, l'arrachement de Pepe à son Afrique originelle, son installation dans le zoo privé du baron de la drogue Pablo Escobar, son évasion ensuite par les eaux du Rio Magdalena qui fendent la jungle colombienne. Le film, peu avare en digression, raconte bien d'autres choses encore. Il est surtout traversé, et je dirais même hanté, par des moments de cinéma de toute beauté, des fulgurances atmosphériques à couper le souffle, comme cette séquence sidérante où 3 hélicoptères survolent le désert au soleil couchant, des plans nocturnes, écliptiques, faisant basculer le film dans une dimension expérimentale, ou encore un lent et saisissant plan-séquence ferroviaire nous ramenant à l'origine du cinéma des premiers temps. C'est de cela que je voudrais parler avec vous pour commencer cet entretien, Nelson Carlo de los Arias, de cette dimension fantasmagorique et hallucinatoire très présente dans votre film. Est-ce pour nous faire pleinement ressentir cette dimension du film que vous avez tenu à y opposer un contrepoint purement naturaliste et documentaire? Je veux parler de toutes les scènes qui se rapportent au village et à ses habitants. To begin this interview with you, Nelson Carlo de los Arias, I'd like to talk to you about the phantasmagorical, hallucinatory dimension that is so present in your film. Is it because you want us to fully feel this dimension that the film that you insist on opposing it with a purely naturalistic and documentary counterpoint, by which I mean all the scenes that relate to the village and its inhabitants?
Yes. Wow, I understood a lot.
Congratulations.
Wow. I think the first time I had French in my ears, so I actually understood. Probably it's because it was about me, so I know my life. Okay, so you want to know why this phantasmagoric approach with the ghost, and then how it dialogue or clashes, maybe is a better word, with this documentary style, right? Well, right. You the thing is, I understand your question, but at the same time, I don't. It's not a question that I do myself. You know, I mean, I don't think cinema in that sense. I think perhaps I can give you a more I don't know, more general conversation, or not a general, but perhaps yeah, I guess in the way that I will think cinema, and the way that I will think maybe image movements, moving images. I think I will come from a very rhizomatic forms of understanding the world. I think cinema, in the sense of it, it will be a phase for me to confront this. It's in a relation to the universe, but at the same time, I will take ethnography or sociology because my dad was a sociologist, so it's also a form of it's another relation that you have to the world. I think like I guess like when I started to read post-colonial theory and then more specific decolonial theory, which is our two different school of thoughts. I understood that we needed, and I needed, because what is interesting about the I mean a post-colonial realm, right, will be like it will speak about a time. It will put things in a very historical line, and I think like a decolonial perspective of things, like which is a Latin American movement with Aníbal Quijano, and then of course like another important person that is gonna bring this into another. It's gonna expand this to gender. Will be Rita Segato. I think like it puts the fight inside of you, right? Like the process of decolonization. It's a process of subjectivization, and what is interesting about that is that it's not only refer to something that is me, that I was born in those post-colonial territories. You see what you you see the difference? Like a decolonization is also it's an urgent that also people in Europe should be like requesting this thing. So this process that I started to have, you start questioning things, right? Like I said that in the Q&A the other day. Like so when you go deep into what is narrative, no, like what is it like they are teaching you in film school, you will see that two people are the most important people, and perhaps most of every narrative strategy will be imposed in these two realms, Aristoteles and Shakespeare. No, Shakespeare. I mean, when we see like this 10 minutes introduction, then we do a plot. This is of course, it's the the North Americans. They have capitalized these things, of course, and they make it not as complex as Shakespeare. But this is like in the end, this is where they have been, So if I have to complicate these things, I have to go outside of cinema, right? And so if you see my films through cinema world, yes, you will enter in these problems. Oh, well, what is this image? This is experimental. This is a documentary. But I am not, because cinema is not the source of my thinking. It is the world. It is the school of thoughts. It's like the thought, el pensamiento, no? Como like as a problem that we need, and like as a need that we have to think the world. Well, yeah, it's heterogenic, it's complicated.
Yeah, it's interesting because you make clear that the film relies on a wide range of references, of text, pieces of literature, films, and you also made clear that your thought is very complex. But let me ask you a very simple question.
Yes.
What do you wanted the film to be?
No, I stay in a simple way. I stay with the story, no, with the story that I want to. I mean, I'm going to make complex the how, but not the story. No, my films are very simple. If you take all this complexity of sound and all the elements of the mise en scène, it's very simple. No, like I'm not experimenting or complicating the message. No, it's very simple, right? The problem is that it gets complex because of the people and the subject and the territories that I am representing. And if I actually make yes, yeah.
Voilà, nous avons entendu qu'un petit
Yes.
véhicule.
So if I put them into negotiation, if I negotiate their representation, meaning my subjectivity and their subjectivity and their reality, we're gonna get a very complex things, right? And especially if you go deep into the Americas, you get you go far from Western. So this also becomes complex. You start what you are French, no? We enter the world of opacity, what Glissant would say. No, we enter this, and in there, where we will find new images, of course. So, but it's in the fact of putting the subject that I'm representing, which could be a territory, could be a person, could be an idea, whatever. Like in the moment that I put them into the problem of the mise en scène, they're going to complicate my idea, and they're going, of course, they're going to complicate cinema. But in a simple way, yeah, it's the story.
So, as simple seems to be, but at the same time, I mean, you have to do this. You have to do. You have to put all these different layers. I perfectly understand the question. I will rephrase in terms of polycentric or polycentric, for example, dimension that is not all concentrating on a vertical or on a hierarchical dimension. But I'm quite curious, just concretely, when you write, because I imagine that you also write, you imagine the scenes. So how you meander through these different countries, languages, species, countries anyway. And it was a sort of intuitive process. It was something, or you create yourself a sort of thread or sort of line that you want to follow. Of course, there is the story of the animal. And so I just to have an idea how concretely you create this path of cinema.
Yeah. No, I understand. And it's a good question because it takes me to... I cannot say these things if my method or my process will be, for example, I mean, let's talk about cinema, right? Like where are the stages? So we got development, we got pre-production, we got production, and we got post-production. Kind of like, the beginning, the development, and the end of Aristotelian structure. So the problem of that system, and like even international fundings, some fundings are imposing you that structure, right? The problem of that even if you want to be experiment, you will not be able to do it because you have to experiment in the process in itself. I think like every film is different. I don't think I have. I think what I did in Cocote is different. What I did in Santa Teresa is different. When I did, but let's talk about Pepe, no? Because this is the film that we're discussing. In that sense, I said like, okay, so I'm going to. I always something that it repeats is that one of my producers says like the problem with Nelson is that Nelson films the film and then we hire other people and we film it again. So it's impossible for me to get into the writing process without a search of an aesthetic, right? And it's always been, we are living in an image centric. So for me, it was always filming. But at this time, I started to say, okay, taking my learnings to my dear Lucrecia Martel, she has this position and says like, so if we live in an image-centric place, what about if this dichotomy, that image is always in the position of signifier, And so if we what do you say that, like reversed, yeah. And we put like sound, we find instead of like going and find the image and then find the sounds that will walk with the image. No, so let's try to find images through the sound. So let's reverse this thing. So in that process, with this film, I started, of course, yes, I always film, not problem, and because in the end, and this is another something that I do is that when I go to the editing, those images that I shot with no crew, with anything, and then the films so there's different qualities of the image. There's some images that have different production values, but in the montage there is a democracy. You know, like I will not. So remember that I told you about this story. No, so my story is my motor. No, is the engine. So I have to in a story you make conclusions, you make ideas, you that twist and all these things in the narrative world. Well, I will not choose the images from the official shooting to represent those. No, perhaps those images that I was alone, you know, they will come. So in that sense, we start having, you know, this this source. No, so but what was different in Pepe with the rest of the films is that I start to write, and at the same time I started to do the sound landscaping of this film. So I remember me like experiment. You know, I was like doing this crazy sounds, like even with my voice, like trying to find the voice of Pepe. And I was like, you know, doing all of that. And like I remember writing scenes like with this jungle sound inside of me. So yes, I mean I was put in the situation. What create? Yes, I don't have power what it creates, but I can put as a director, I put my own mise en scène to write. No, so this is how I work. I do a lot of games to myself. I like to play. I'm a playful person, and yeah.
And the movie is very skillful in the way it shows without showing, using sound off screen.
Yeah.
And the magic of reverse shot. I was reminded of early cinema, notably Georges Méliès, for example, the scene when the cow disappears, for example, in Pepe. And even more so of the Soviet avant-garde, Tsiga Vertov in particular. Could Pepe be seen as a modern update of the Kino eye of Tsiga Vertov?
Wow.
Something like that. Because his cinema was a cinema that was fed with other things that cinema like yours.
I think like, I mean, my God, they would be very crazy if I think this by myself. But I think like people can have the right to think about this, but I would not think about this like in the sense like it's a very I'm a very extrovertive person, but at the same time I'm a introvertive. You know, I'm a loner. So when I'm like making films, like and like I'm in this process, I enter in trance. You know, in this film, I was like for a long time by myself in the jungle with no crew, not even know who's gonna work with me. Those images, most of these images that you'll see in the film, they're like they are in this personal search that was just me with my super 16 millimeter camera. So I really don't. I am not thinking in that at all. I'm not thinking like in cinema in those process. Like I think in cinema when I'm about to kind of finish in the film, like a trance, like when you take mushrooms, right? And you are like in this trance, and then the mushrooms started to go down and down and down. And then you say, "Oh my God, yes, I am here," and all of that. So I think I start thinking in cinema when I'm like about to finish the film, and I'm like, "All right, this is a film. I have to work. Where am I going to release these films?" And then cinema comes, of course, like. For example, I know that when I am filming or having a thing like in school and academia, people will say, "Oh, you should see this film. It could be a reference." I don't see it. I remember like so if you give me a reference when I'm making a film, I will not see it because I have this need of myself that this image or those sounds has to be because of me and my interaction to the people and what the people creates. I react to the universe. It's very personal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And during the whole process of finding your film, how did you find the characters of the film? I mean, not only Pepe, who is obviously the main character, but also like the supporting characters, the very many supporting characters. How did you find them?
Oh my God! It's a very long process. Like it's a very, very long process. I mean, Yes, I think like in both films I have taken the same amount, like a year or so. Um, First of all, because I have to do documentary can teach me something that is like how you deal with the territory, like a social worker. Like you enter to this territory. The first thing that you have to see in order to be accepted is like to be to get to know the community, right? So this getting to know the community, I started to shape those characters first, not with the person in itself, not like a finding, like, I mean, Candelario was Candelario, right? But Candelario first occupies kind of an archetype of this community, no? I started to see men. Okay, it's how the fisherman, no? So it comes from a very broad sense, like me, I try to understand this particular community. And then when I think I have something that I think that I satisfy in the sense of respect, for example, in an ethical relation that it could have and that will take time for me, like not even like less than 7 or 8 months, and then I start looking for specific people. Then it's very strange because people might think that when they see my films is very that it will be a lot of improvisation. No. You cannot take non-natural actors, and they cannot just go to a place. You have to prepare themselves, prepare themselves, sorry, into the impact that it could be a shooting. Right, so there's a lot of so first of all I have to what I make a movement which is like I know a person, I'm interested into that person, and the moment that I put this person to act, this person is going to go very far away from from what I was attracted to it. So it takes me a long time, almost like a journey, to come back. So I go far from it, and then I go back, so for them to themselves, but now they're aware of that, right? So it takes me, once I choose a person, it takes me a long time to prepare. Like I rehearse, like in theater, I rehearse 3 or 4 months so I can prepare them. I have to protect my communities, because I work with very peripheral communities, and and like when you are working with electrics and art director, these people most of the time they work in commercial films. This is the people that we have. They will not understand. They will think, they will not. Most of my crew don't understand what are we doing, because in Latin America we won't have, except like Brazil or Argentina or some other countries, you don't have a crew that will do a specific this film. So you have to work with people that most of their work is now it could be Netflix, as a service and all of that. So you have to prepare I have to protect them so they don't feel disrespect or they feel nervous in the paraphernalia what is cinema. So it's a job that sometimes is not even had to do with acting. It has to be with representation in itself. And of course, and it's very beautiful. And actually in Pepe, that was something that it was very different, because there was a single professional actor. And they were able to reflect people that they didn't even know how to write. They had to reflect in their violence, in their pain, and what they have caused, especially between Candelaria and Betania, when they have this fight, that they don't know each other. People think that they're not even from the same town. They met in there. So for Canda, I remember that Puntillon was like super sad after this, because, Puntillon, what happened? And he realized, oh my God, I've been bad with women. I've been like so in this act, this so they can react what they have done in their life. They reflect about that. So it becomes another thing that doesn't have anything to do with cinema. Sometimes, with Hitchcock.
So if I understand well your art of methodology, your way of filmmaking, and there's a lot of dedication, a lot of attention. At the same time, a lot of you hear a lot what is happening. You respect the people. You wait probably from the people and from the animals, from the territory that something comes to you. So I was in question myself about the question of authorship in a sense, because I have the impression that probably you achieve with this style of working a sort of I don't know, to give the impression at least that, for example, Pepe is somehow also an author, and this is something I don't know if there is an intention to make us feel or to do yourself the experience of being Pepe in a sense, of being something that is not necessarily something that you control, that you want, that you can express exactly as you want. So is this really like this, that you let things go in a way in order to achieve this shift of perspective, and to say, okay, that's probably something like a perspective of an animal, or a perspective of a country, or a perspective of a landscape, or something like this.
I don't know. I never thought about that. Like in that sense, I think what I do, because I'm sorry, I haven't thought about that, so I'm gonna improvise an answer to that. Let me see. There's not a lot of improvisation in my films. No, I design something, and it's take me a long time to design. I not necessarily understand this design, but it's design, and
Probably just to help you in a sense that you were speaking before about the colonial studies. I was just thinking about Walter Mignolo.
Yes,
and
Walter Mignolo.
And what he says about transformative experience.
Yes.
The fact that actually not only in what we do, you do a films, and probably you trigger in us something like a transformative experience, so an experience that really change our grammar of perceiving.
Yes.
But yet you yourself do also this transformative experience in the filmmaking. So that's probably the question.
Yeah. No. I think when I'm not doing films, I'm always like I do have a personal work, very a personal discipline with readings, with work, with consuming art. Like it's something that even when I'm not I do have a routine. You will be amazed how. So I have to write. I have to study this author. So I think I prepare myself. So I can say that I have these things in my DNA. Let's say that. So once that I'm there, it feels. I could say, and yes, I was aware after this film, because you reflect after you make a film, and I'm still young in that sense. So I said like wow, so I started to analyze what was intuition, what I thought that it was intuition, but this intuition was important because I have this discipline with me. Then I can like jazz. No, jazz will be something kind of similar. I think like I can relate to that. Like a jazz musician will understand harmony, will understand the notes, and it will jump into notes. But at the moment that it's playing, but there is a structure that you jump and that you improvise. So there's a little bit of that in my films. But in the end, when I analyze this intuition, it is a design that it has to do with myself, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
Probably to continue on this line is the question of editing, because I just read in the credit that is Tom Swash did the editing. So how can you edit such a film with someone else?
No. There's no editors in my films. No. It's impossible.
So it's a false. I know.
Yeah.
It was a mistake. Sorry.
No, it was a mistake. No. This is the only thing that I will, as you said, it's impossible for me to share. I can collaborate. I don't think, even writing. I think I don't know if directing it could be a kind of difficult, but never the editing. I'm a montage artist. This is where I am. This is me in montage. Yes.
This year in Bildrausch, the main theme is technology, my love. And
Yes.
in your movie, there are some shots that film the Rio from a perfect zenithal angle.
Mm-hmm.
They're so perfectly executed that there seems to be unreal. And what this shot was this shot with a drone, for example, or maybe
Yes.
a digitally recreated image?
No.
Images? No?
No. It's a drone. It's
Okay.
a drone. It's a drone, and like you will never imagine what was this like why I was doing this, because I know that there's a lot of theory about that, but I don't care about that. I'm sorry if it's not very cool as the theory about these drones, but when I was told about this film, no, and they said that this hippo was called Pepe. In my mind, I was, of course, all hippos should be called Pepe, because I was very fan of Pepe Potamo, which is Peter Potamus, which is a Hanna-Barbera's film. I couldn't use it, but we make a tribute, no, in this cartoon that we made. But when, of course, I mean, everybody have their own obsession. I've been obsessed with cartoons all of my life. I actually started doing animation. But of course, Colombian call them Pepe, not because of Peter Potamus or Pepe Potamo. It was because they relate this to the chasing of Pablo Escobar. So the paramilitaries who was chasing Pablo Escobar was the Pepes. No, it was Los Pepes. So this movement, this changing of territories, it is because Peter Potamos, or Pepe Potamo in Spanish, was an explorer. It was doing a safari in the first world. So Pepe was flying in his flying boat, and in the way that it was going down to the territories was like in this vertical way. I mean, it's and this has a very technical thing, because what Hanna-Barbera did was what they call limited animation from the 60s. That was very different from Disney, that everything was animated in 24 frames per second. So because this was television, they had the mouth and some things were animated in 24, but everything was flat. It was bidimensional. So they can just like go and draw very fast, and they just can pa. So because it was television, so they had like this very geometrical movement. So this was like because for me something that is very important was the production of imagination. How do we produce an imagination? And for us, like, it's complicated, because like how the imagination starts with the kids in terms of like it's cartoons. Where are these coming, these cartoons? So for me, if I am going to reflect in the production of imagination, of course, if from my generation, I have to include Hanna-Barbera as a part of or Americanization and imperial.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, we touched a lot of question. In speaking with you, I've just to finish in mind something like a sort of definition that probably you can say, or what I experienced with this film is sort of very conscious stream of unconsciousness.
Yes. Very good. I will.
Do you agree?
Yes, I will solve that from you. I think that can be very good to describe not even Pepe. I think my work and my relation to the world. I think so. Yes.
So thank you very much, Nelson.
No, thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Willkommen, welcome, bienvenue. La radio du festival Bildrausch.